There is one country benefiting from the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and it's probably not who you think. And not only that, but this country holds the entire balance of the Middle East in its hands. But their actions are going under the radar, as they often do. I'm sure by now you've all heard about the UAE leaving OPEC, breaking up the biggest oil monopoly in the world. Well, leaving OPEC is part of the UAE's growing rivalry with the country that we're talking about, and that's Saudi Arabia. They always seem to somehow come up when the US is in its darkest moments. All right, I need to summarize some of these power struggles in the Middle East, and it's pretty complex, so stay with me. The goal for decades by numerous US presidents has been to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, as these have historically been our biggest allies in the region. Well, in the first Trump administration, we had the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords, among other things, moved the U.S. embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, pissing off the majority of the Islamic world. Jerusalem is supposed to be neutral. The UAE jumped all over this because they need the U.S. and Israel for security in the region, given their proximity to Iran. The Saudis, though, did not. And these accords really made the situation too toxic for them to continue normalization. Fast forward to today, and we've got two countries here, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, competing to be the stable economic center of the Middle East. Dubai versus Riyadh. The only way the Saudis would consider joining the Abraham Accords is if the US gave them a massive nuclear defense package. But the UAE joined for free, so they wouldn't be too happy about that, especially because of how much they're getting beat up by this war. This is the reason the Saudis are very happy and benefiting from the current limbo. They can now be the sole clear safe haven, and they're less affected by the strait because they have alternatives. The Saudis, though, have to keep things as is. They can't let things escalate too much because then the whole region becomes unstable and they lose all kinds of investment. But these high oil prices have them basically as the only country making money. Trump obviously wants oil and gas prices to come down. And so like he's done in the past, he asked OPEC to sell more. But this time they said no because it doesn't benefit them. The Saudis are also much closer to the Russians and Chinese than they used to be. In fact, China is their biggest trading partner. So while Saudi royalty is no fan of the Iranian regime, they have this in common. The Saudis and the UAE are also on opposite sides in other places around the world. They're supporting opposite sides in Sudan, in Yemen, and even in Gaza, as the UAE is basically in lockstep with Israel right now. It's a very complex situation, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the US and Israel continue to prove to be unreliable, then the Saudis will continue to grow their relationship with the Chinese. And they're already a member of BRICS and have agreed to buy and sell with the Chinese in Chinese currency. Trump is trying to get this grand bargain where he can get the Saudis on the Abraham Accords and use China and Pakistan to try to open the strait with a new nuclear deal. And then, of course, priority for him is to get his Board of Peace hands all over it so that he can make future profits. But there are a lot of factors working against him, and the US and Israel just completely screwed the situation up. And now we're still in total limbo. What I want everyone to notice is how little we, the people, matter to any of these governments in any of these negotiations. They are trading lives for profits, and all we can do is watch. Please click the link in my bio. Thanks.